Hello, and welcome to Magic is Real, a podcast focused on the fascinating world of near-death experiences, spirit communication, and all things metaphysical and spiritual. The mission of this project is to share messages of hope and inspiration with others, and to spread the word that death is only an illusion. Thank you for being here with an open heart and mind. I wish you peace, light, and love always. Hello, and welcome to Magic is Real. I'm Shannon. I'm your host. I'm a psychic medium. And today I have with me Nicole Hickman, who is also a psychic medium and who has had a very interesting life full of many spiritual experiences. She's also an Akashic Records reader, which we're going to talk about. She is an animal communicator, and she is an angel reader. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole. I'm so thrilled to have you. I'm really excited to delve into your story today.
Thank you, Shannon, for having me. I'm also excited to share my story.
Yes. Well, listen, we're going to talk about the work that you do. But I really am interested to know how this all began for you, what started your spiritual journey. I happen to know that your journey started at a very young age.
Yeah, I'm from Germany, and I was always interested in spirituality. So my journey started very early on when I was a small child. I walked home from school and I heard a message. And at that time, I did not really know what that meant, but I know that I have a bigger mission in this life. And so I'm from Germany. I have a large family. I have four brothers, four sisters and five brothers. So we all 10 together. Lots of fun growing up with a large family. And when I was 26 years old, I moved to America and I met my lovely husband. And we have now two children and a small Shih Tzu. And I always worked for the corporate world, but spirituality was always something that drove me. I was always interested, and in fact, I read so many books. I had so many different mentors, and when I was 24 years old, I had my first encounter with a guardian angel, and that was on Valentine's Day. So I was driving to my final exam. And at that time of the accident, I had a car accident. I had no seatbelt on. But at the time of the crash, I felt two hands holding my shoulders back. And luckily, I had no bruises, no injuries, even though I was not had no seatbelt on, and my car was completely totaled. And that experience really showed me that there is more to life that we can see. And
Right.
that opened my
Yeah.
trust.
That's so amazing. When you were young and you said you heard this voice, was it the way that we hear a voice outside of ourselves, or was it in your in your quote unquote your mind, in your soul? The voice said, "You're here because you have a mission."
Um, it felt like somebody was outside of me saying that, but there was nobody. I looked around and I didn't see anybody. And it was a very comforting moment also, and the voice was very soothing. So I felt it was out of body experience at that time. It was
Yeah.
really I cannot explain it. It was just not. It didn't feel real, but I know it happened.
Yeah, exactly. So you had this experience where you know that you were saved or helped by a guardian angel. You had no injuries after this accident?
No, I had the only thing was hurting was my nose, because when I felt that present, my head went forward, but not my body. So I touched the steering wheel with my nose, but not my body. So my nose was hurting, but nothing else, no injuries, internal injuries. And I had to go to the hospital. They checked everything. And like I said, luckily I had nothing. And of course, I wear my seatbelt now. This was
Yes, Nicole.
not something I do on a regular basis.
Right. Now, after this experience, when was it that you started studying? I know that you studied with a lot of great spiritual leaders and teachers. What was it specifically that motivated you? and how did you come across these particular people that you studied with, and what were you hoping to learn?
I was always reading, and I felt like this book was the most advanced book. And then afterward, I was led to the next book and then to the next mentor. And luckily, I also had some mentors that helped me in my development. But my most profound experience was then when Kundalini came. So that really was opened up all my senses. And I don't know if you know, but Kundalini is a very powerful spiritual awakening, and people think this is something fun to do, but in reality, you go through an ego transformation. It's called ego death, but it's not really a death, it's a transformation. And I was in many years, I was in mental, physical, and emotional pain. And it helped me to see first from an ego perspective, and then you see life from a soul perspective. And that is a very powerful spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and I know that you had told me ahead of time that this is such a big topic that to focus on it would be a whole other show. But I
Yes.
do, just for the sake of informing people who may not be familiar with what a Kundalini awakening is, how is it something that happened spontaneously? Had you been seeking it out? Did you know anything about it? And how did it happen for you?
Um, I truly believe that you don't choose Kundalini, because who would choose that your life is completely upside down? It is, I believe that your soul is ready for the next evolutionary process. And in my case was Kundalini. But it's not something that you think, oh, I will in this year of 2023, I choose to do Kundalini and see that all my senses open up, you know. This is because when it started, I had no idea what happened to me, because my whole life was upside down. I couldn't eat, I was in pain, everything was weird around me, and who would choose that, you know? So this is not something that you would invite into your life until your soul is ready to basically take all this heavy purging, because it's a process. It's a really transformation, and it was the hardest thing that I ever had to go through. But everything makes sense now. And like I said, it opened up all my senses and led me to the work that I do today.
Right. And when you studied with these teachers, what specifically were you studying? Was it mediumship? Was it all of the things? Was it just everything you could get your hands on, or did you have a specific focus?
Before Kundalini, I had no intention to be a medium. I had no intention to be an animal reader, an Akashic record reader. I always, like I said, I had a corporate job. And for me, it was just, there was always something to seek. There was more than I could explain. So I read all kinds of books, and I always felt like I was led to the next one and then to the next one. And luckily also I have my best friend in Germany, and we were both helping each other, you know, to go through this spiritual process together. And I'm always very thankful to have her on my side, because I have a big family, but none of them are spiritual.
Right.
So that was something I always had to kind of like, not hide, but it's something that you cannot really when somebody is not in that same category, you know. It's
Yeah.
nothing bad. It's just that, you know, you look for people that will understand what you mean when you talk about angels, when you talk about, you know, all those spiritual stuff. That was for me always, I was always thankful to have my best friend, and we were, you know, going through this together, and I'm very lucky to have her.
Yeah.
And
And just,
spiritual children, that is also especially going through Kundalini, that really helped, because, you know, when children are small, they're still very connected to the other side. So my daughter specifically had a lot of explanation why I'm going through Kundalini, and
uh,
also my son. And that was also something I was very, very fortunate to have.
Right. And just to clarify too about Kundalini, some people achieve it through meditation. For you, was it a one-time thing where your body left and you had this whole experience, and then from that time on, you just started to become more sensitive or not fit in with the world, or was it a gradual sort of an experience for you?
Um, no, it's a process where literally your life is from one day to the next completely different. Uh, I was in complete fear. That's the ego thinking it's gonna die. My body could not eat. I lost 40 pounds. It's kind of like a process where all stored memories are coming up again and you relive it. And but the Kundalini is you live it at the same time. So, you have this whole process in your life where you go through this situation and this experience, but Kundalini, everything comes up. And then your ego has no grip anymore.
You said your ego has no grip anymore.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so this led you to opening up to so many things. Did you have natural experiences where suddenly you might have had premonitions or felt things or suddenly spontaneously started receiving messages? Or was it something that came through conscious study?
No, everything happened after this process. So the process itself is really that your ego gets transformed, and the ego is a child mind, has a child mind view. And through this process, you see then a soul point of view. So it's basically, you literally die without leaving your body. We all get a live review when we die. And we don't see from an ego point of view, we always see it from a soul point of view. And this ego transformation is basically, you don't die, you go through a process, and then you will see things from a bigger picture, from a soul point of view.
When was it that you realized that the work you were going to do, what the work you were going to do was going to be?
After Kundalini, I had a couple out of body experiences. And also, it was really clear that I can now see things or hear things. And but it was not defined yet. So I had a medium from England that trained me for 1 year. Then I also learned to read the Akashic Records for myself and for others, and went to an angel academy. And the last thing I did was went to a college in England to study about animal communication.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was always one after another. It was not, it didn't happen at the same time. So I always felt like my guides were telling me, okay, this is the next thing we're going to do. And then I followed, and
Right.
that led me to my work that I do today. And like I said, I had no idea I will do this.
Right, and I really wanna talk about the Akashic Records, but first I just want to address your out of body experiences, because I think that really informs, your experience really informs the work that you do now too. How did these out of body experiences come to be? Were you sleeping? Were you just walking along? How did they happen when they happened to you?
I was with my daughter, and I saw a homeless person, and he must have had COVID. And at that time, I just had a quick thought, oh, this poor guy, he has COVID and nobody to help him, or, he's all by himself. And then we were driving, and I saw another homeless person. I don't live in an area where there's a lot of homeless people, but at that time, I saw another homeless person. And at that moment, I felt like my consciousness was pulled out of me, and I saw through a lens that my life and the life of this homeless person has the same value, even though I'm spiritual and I went through this Kundalini awakening, but there was not anything better because of that. We had the same connections, or more important, I saw through a lens that we all connected but we are all very individual, and that is what it's all about. It's not about giving up your body and ascending and being then, giving up your humanness. It's more like we are all here to express the divine through our individuality.
Right. When you had this experience, were you surprised? Were you shocked? Because from what I understand, when people have out of body experiences, they can be driving,
I
or they
was
can all,
driving.
yeah, they could be driving and their body's got the wheel, but then
Yes.
their soul is having this other experience.
Believe it or not, this happens maybe within a half a second, but it
Right.
felt like a lifetime. And my daughter looked at me and said, "What just happened to you?" But it still gives me chills, because I remember it so clear that my consciousness was taken out of my body and I saw this other person's life. And it was so beautiful to see how we connected, and then I was back, and it was just so magical.
Yeah. And then what I noticed from speaking with near-death experiencers and out-of-body experiencers is that once their soul leaves their body, it remembers it helps you remember who you are, in the sense that that's when a lot of the abilities start to strengthen, because you have a stronger cord connection with the other side, or the other dimension, or the other state of existence. So did you naturally after that start having this happen all the time? Did you start feeling like you had the ability to sense loved ones in spirit and that sort of thing?
I had a couple other out of body experiences where I lay in bed and then I hear a voice and says, "Are you ready?" And I said, "For what?" And then they take me to an out of body experience, and it's so quick. It's
Yeah.
so fascinating now when this happens, and I'm always excited when it happens, and they show me different things.
I was gonna ask, what kinds of things do they show you?
One time I was pulled in my mother's womb when she was pregnant with me, and then they showed me that this is not the beginning. Then they showed me the beginning before my birth, and then I was pulled in, different planets, and it's just so quick, and then
Yeah.
it's just showing you the different energies and the different places. That is just so amazing when this
Right. And
happens.
what have you discovered, or what do you think is the reason why you're not, it sounds like you're somebody that was sent here, as you said, to do a mission. And so they are slowly teaching you what you need to know so that you can do your job and execute this mission well. But do you have any insight as to why or why you've been sort of chosen to do this work, or anything about the nature of why this keeps happening to you in the way that it does?
When you go through Kundalini, you realize that you go through a healing process. So you heal layers and layers of your own emotions, your own, garbage. And then you realize then you do this for your family and your ancestors. And then you also realize you do this for all the women. And then you see bigger and bigger pictures why my healing helps everybody else, because we all connected. If I feel more love for myself and the world, and because we are connected, my daughter can feel that, my son can feel that, they are connected, and this is all a process where energy is going through you and helps others to get this possibility of seeing things from the bigger picture.
Right.
So
Now,
this always
yeah.
starts with your own healing. So it's not about, but now I help others to heal. And because, as a master, you can only be a master when you go through all this hardship, because otherwise I would only teach from a book. and that is not really connected to anybody. So my physical pain, my mental pain, all this, help me when I have clients and they go through this process. And I don't know where they stand, but my guides always show me where they stand and what's their next step. Because with this whole process is never a rescue. I don't rescue anybody. We're all here on an evolutionary process, and it's all about just the next step. And my guides always show me what's your next step. And that is really, every time I have a reading, it's very, I do my work before, 1 hour before, and they show me all the information. And then it's always exciting because I don't know anything about them. And then all the messages that come, and make sense for them. And I'm always very thankful for what I'm doing and what my spirit team is helping me to accomplish.
Before you do a reading, is it a meditation that you do?
I connect differently. For example, when I do an Akashic record reading, I don't have access to your records. So I connect to gatekeepers, and I open your records. I need your full name. And this is like a process how to open a record. When I do an angel reading, I do a different process. And mediumship and animal, but with the Akashic and the animal, it's always like an hour prior where I connect and get all the information and write them down in, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 pages, depends. And all the information is then for them.
Wow. How does it come to you? Is it just sort of like free flow writing? Is it
Yes.
just, you just go with what comes in immediately, which is what I do in mediumship as well, which is don't stop to think, just let it flow through you.
Yeah. And interestingly, when I do an Akashic record reading afterwards, I get really hot. I don't sweat. When I do sport, I don't sweat. Like my husband, he does a little sport. But for me, when I do an Akashic record, I get so hot. When I do an angel reading, I get so cold. I need to lay in bed and put a blanket over me because I get the shivers, I get cold, because it's a different energy I connect. So it's always different when I do an Akashic record reading than an angel reading.
That's so interesting. So let's talk about Akashic records and what they are.
So everybody has, or let's start with an Akashic record reading is, we all have an Akashic record. It's a library where all the information about your past life and your future life and your present life is stored. The Akashic records are stored or is in a location underneath the pyramids. So, but I don't connect to the pyramids. I connect to the gatekeepers right away, and then I get all the information about your past life. If you're a starseed, what kind of starseed you are, why are you here, your next soul's journey. If you are in a karmic loop, what kind of, patterns that needs to be resolved. Different things from different people, like I said, depends on the person, where they stand and what they need to know at that moment.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting. And how do you, it's so hard to, I think the thing I always have trouble understanding with Akashic records is all I can relate it to from a human standpoint is, as you said, it's like a library and there are these books.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight or idea about, is it who, I don't know how to ask the question, who or what contains this wisdom and knowledge? Is it like a greater consciousness? Is it God? Is it like we have our guides kind of keeping records? How does it all work from a spiritual, what's going on over there?
In reality, everything is divine. So let's say somebody, let's say in 3D or in 4D, there is still, good versus bad. There is darkness versus the light. But when you enter 5D, you understand that the darkness is only darkness because it does not recognize that it's divine. And that's not because it's a problem with them. That's the soul's journey. So nothing we all were at that point that we all were unconscious that we are divine. And then we go through an evolutionary process and getting back to the knowledge that we are divine. So an Akashic record, it is a library, but it's basically the soul's journey. And my gatekeepers will show me information about past life, but not because, let's say, I will never tell you, oh, in your past life, you got shot by your mother, you know, and then I let you hang with this information. They will always show me information about past life. And then why is it important for this life? So
Right.
this is the more important thing is, why do you show me information about the past life? And I will always ask that. And why, what is this? What are you going to do with this information in this life? You
Right.
know, and I don't know if you were told, and I mean, I had this information too when I went through my process. Karma, you know, that karma is real, and that we, you know, whatever you do in your past life, it will come back, and you will, you know, have to pay your debt. But in reality, there is no karma, and I know that a lot of people will say, "What do you mean by that?" You know, and let me explain. If you have a 14-year-old daughter and she gets raped, would you tell your 14-year-old daughter, well, you must have done something bad in your past life? So that the girl then thinks, okay, she deserves that shit, you know? So she's screwed double because she did something wrong. She must have done something wrong in her past life, and now she deserves the abuse. So nothing ever happens because of past life experiences. Everything happens for an evolutionary process. And that's the difference, that yes, there is karmic loop, but karmic loop is different. Karmic loop is with this life, and it's like a belief system that you always have, and then you get stuck in that karmic loop. So I help to get them out of a karmic loop. But there's, you know, there's a lot of Akashic record readers that will tell you, you know, you need to be doing something in this life because you did something bad. But
Right.
like I said, we all go through our hardship, not because we did something wrong. We go through hardship because this is our next evolutionary process.
That's so well said, and I agree with you. What can we do, excuse me, to get out of our karmic loops? Or how do you help people get out of their karmic loops?
Um, they have different belief systems that maybe they were told by their parents or by their friends or by reading different books, you know. So the gatekeepers will show me what kind of patterns they are, and then help me to solve those patterns, you know.
Yeah. Do you have, when you connect with these gatekeepers, how did you figure out that that's who it was, or is that something you learned, that there are, that you may not have direct access, but there are going to be people that are souls or uh, beings that will help you to help the person that you're serving?
Yeah, I learned that through a process of, how
Right.
I first learned to open my own records. That
Hmm.
was also very interesting when I experienced my own past life. And then I learned how to open for others. And yes, there is a process that really
Yeah.
um, shows you how to open a records and how to read it for others.
Right. Yeah. And with the animal communication, what do people come to you for? What kinds of things do they come to you for?
I have to admit, I love animal readings. I was never an animal person until we moved to America. And my daughter, we moved back from Germany 3 years ago, right at the beginning of pandemic. So, and we bought a Shih Tzu for my daughter. And she opened up a world for me I cannot explain.
Oh,
I love her so much. She's like a daughter to me, you know?
yeah.
So when I do animal readings, I connect to animals that have passed, but also living animals. And those are my favorites because it's funny what the animals are telling me, you know, about their owner, you know, or about their food, or about their pain, or if they have other, you know, animals in the house, if they like them, or if they annoy them. So it's very interesting, but also helpful. I had one that she had a rescue dog, and she was basically wanted to give this dog up, and I was able to show her what this dog went through and made her also understand why this dog had this kind of behavior. And I connect to the animal first, but then I connect to the animal's, spirit guide and ask for guidance to help with this behavior problem. And many months later, she sent me a text, and she showed me pictures, and she was so thankful because now they're cuddling and they are having a good relationship. And she really understood why, what this animal went through, and had more, empathy and also more understanding, and could help with the behavior issues.
Oh, that's so nice. And also so can you tell me a bit about how you do angel readings for people?
Angel readings is a process where I connect to your spirit team. We all have one. We don't see them, but we all have ascended masters, archangels, your loved ones, spirit animals around you, and they help you through your daily life. And I connect with them. I can see exactly who they are, but more important, what message they have for you. So this is all about guidance, all about helping you with, your next step, whether you want to make a decision in your life, or about your own relationship with a narcissistic mother, or anything. I mean, anything that you go through in your life. Different members of your spirit team have different messages for you.
Right. And why is it that we have these spirit guides and these angels in our lives, but we often need somebody else to help us to listen to what they're saying? What is what is their purpose in our lives if so many of us don't even really realize they're there?
They help you regardless if I connect with them or not.
Yeah.
But I can tune in and give you messages that are more clear. But the thing is, an angel is not here to take your experience away, There is a purpose why you go through this. And through my connection, I can help you and maybe give you the soul perspective or the higher perspective on why you're going through this. Ascended master, they have lived on earth, and they went through the soul journey or the earth journey and understands it. So they have a lot of knowledge. So when I get an ascended master, it's about knowledge. When I connect to an angel, it's about, helping you to see the bigger picture, And when I connect with a loved ones, it's very personal because it's from your own family member, and they have, advice for you.
Right.
So it's all about giving you advice, giving you help. But it's also could be very positive. You can go to a wedding and need help with different things, and they show up and help you with that. It's not always all negative and all, it's also health related, career related, relationship related, anything that you need help. And like I said before, I connect an hour before, get all the information, and I have 2 different readings where you can ask 3 questions or 5 questions. But 95% my questions are answered, because I always let them ask the question in the end of my session.
Oh,
And
good.
95% the questions are
Answered. Yeah.
because of what the spirit team has for them.
I find the same thing. I always start off my mediumship readings with a little spiel, but one of the things I say is that the person you expect to hear from may not be the first person in. So if for any reason you don't hear from the person that you wanted to connect with, at the end of the reading, I'll give you an opportunity to ask. And I would say 95% of the time, they're like, no, everyone came through that was meant to come through. I always say they're one and the same usually. I said, I say that the person you want to hear might not be the person who comes in, but usually they will. I mean, there's not, unless there's some unusual circumstance. And I think
Yeah.
you're right. It's about letting spirit lead in the way that best serves your client
Yeah.
to help them on their journey. With all of the experiences that you've had, what is the one thing that you really want people to know?
Well, with the angel reading, you are never alone,
Mm,
because it does feels very lonely when you're in a dark place.
yeah.
And like I said, I went through this and I felt very alone. But you don't go through this process um, alone, or there's always guidance for the next step. So 3 years from now, then it will make sense
Hmm.
why you went all through all this. So for me, my biggest message: you are not alone. And this process that I went through, the Kundalini, uh, we all go through this process, but we are not going through this at once, because it would be weird if we all go through Kundalini and then the world awakens and then it stops.
Right.
So we all go through this process in their own timing, and it's an evolutionary process, and it does not make sense if I would tell my clients the end of it when they cannot see the next step. It's like being
Yeah.
in first grade and you want them to be in 12th grade. That would
Mm,
not make sense. So I just want to tell them there will be more, and it all makes sense in the end. And sometimes having the hardest time going through depression is afterwards, not while you're going through, afterwards, your most spiritual awakening. But going through it, I would never tell a person, hey, that's a spiritual awakening. So come on, see it from a different perspective, because you are put in this situation for a certain reason, to feel certain emotions, and that is very heavy. So my advice would never, be, come on, it's just a story, or it's unreal, time is not real. Well, we live here on earth, and time is very real, and pain is very real, and emotions are very real. So for my part is, I want to connect more with your story, instead of making this an unrealistic journey, where you get disconnected to yourself. This is all about connecting more to yourself, more to your body, more to others, and to yourself.
that's beautiful. I love that. I have to remind myself of that all the time. And I think with in my case, age comes so much more wisdom about why all the things that have been difficult happened. And from personal experience, they all make perfect sense now. And I'm not
Yeah.
even, and I'm sure they'll make even more sense when I cross over to the other side. But
Yes.
even as recent as 3 years ago, I was going, why am I having this tower moment? Everything's falling apart. I'm despondent. Life was so good. And now it's shit. Now I'm at the bottom of the barrel and I don't even want to be here anymore. And then it's because cut to 3 years later, I understand. And I'm grateful for that time, even though it was so painful at the time. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insights that you have gleaned from doing the work that you do. And I want to again say her name is Nicole Hickman. You can find her at NicoleHickmanMedium.com. I will have links below to contact her for readings and anything else that she sends me that she wants that she wants to share. And I also just want to say real fast that if you like this, if you liked this episode, if you like this content, it helps so much if you comment, you like, subscribe. It sounds so cliche and corny, but that is how the algorithm knows that this is content that you like, that you want to see, that they should share. And also, I have an Etsy shop now where I sell printed goods such as t-shirts and mugs. This is a meditation and yoga inspired tumbler with straw that I designed, and that is at realmagicdesigns.etsy.com. But that's my little spiel at the end, which I never do because I don't like to take attention away from my guest. But I'm realizing that in this day and age, that's just what you have to do. So thank you for enduring it. Nicole Hickman, you are delightful. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see what you do next. And I would love to get a reading from you at some point down the road. So I'm excited that we met.
I'm excited too, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
Thanks, Nicole. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.